Hello, my name is Sydney and today I'm going to be showing you all of the Studio Ghibli films that I currently own. I will be starting off with the oldest Studio Ghibli film and going to the newest one, or the most newly released Studio Ghibli film. This first film was made before Studio Ghibli started, but it's by the main director of Studio Ghibli called Hayao Miyazaki, and it's called Panda Go Panda. There's the front cover, there's a panda there, and a baby panda there. And there's a girl in the window there, and she seems to be strangely sized compared to the house. Like, how does she even get in that house? She's huge. There's the back cover. There. Panda Go Panda is two different stories about a girl and her grandma goes away, so she has to look after herself for a while, and then the little panda actually turns up on the doorstep and she decides to take it in, and then the panda's daddy comes and it sort of continues from there. It's rated U, so it's universal. Also, before I forget, even though I did forget, I would rate Panda Go Panda 4 out of 5 star. The second film I've got to show you led to the creation of Studio Ghibli, and it is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. There's the cover. Here's the back cover. It's rated PG, so not too bad. This is set in a post-apocalyptic world where this evil forest with little things that kill you has overtaken the world. The forest is full of bugs which like to eat you, and sapling thingies, the little things that come out of trees that plant seeds, want to go inside you and poison you forever and kill you. This is a very good film. I would give it probably... I think I'd give it 5 out of 5 star. The first film that is actually under Studio Ghibli, even though those two are by people from Studio Ghibli, is Laputa Castle in the Sky. This came out in 1986. Yeah, 1986. Nausicaa of the Valley of Wind came out in 1984, and Panda Go Panda was in 1971, I think it was. Laputa Castle in the Sky is set in a fantasy world. It's about this girl, that's the girl there, she's called Shita, I think, his name is Patsu. She's basically been captured, and then she escapes from this airship thing, but she falls and she has this special necklace which saves her from dying because she slowly floats to the ground, and is found by Patsu, and basically his dream is to find Laputa, which is a castle in the sky. And Shita is being hunted down by these bad military people, and also by, look at the back, this lady here. It's rated PG, and I would definitely give this 5 out of 5 star because it's amazing. The fourth film I've got to show you is My Neighbor Totoro. I'm sure a lot of people who have heard of Studio Ghibli have heard of My Neighbor Totoro. There's the front cover. That big thing is Totoro. That little thing is a baby Totoro. Her name is Mei, and her name is Sasuke, I think it is. It's rated U, it's a very good film. I should explain what it's about. It's basically about these two girls, and they move into the countryside with their father. Their mother is in hospital because she's ill throughout this film. And basically there's this gigantic tree next to where they live, and Totoro lives inside this tree. And they have lots of adventures with Totoro without their father even knowing. I would give this 4.5 star, because it is very good, but I prefer Laputa and Nausicaa. This next film is by far the saddest Studio Ghibli film you could ever watch, and it's Grave of the Fireflies. This came out in 1988, the same year as My Neighbor Totoro. It's the only Studio Ghibli that's rated 12. There's the front cover. There's the back cover. I only ever watched this once. I will watch it again, but because when I watched it that one time, I was depressed for like a week or probably 2 weeks. It was really, really sad. It's set in the Second World War, and it's basically about the brother and the sister trying to survive through the war, basically, in Japan. I would definitely give this 5 out of 5 star. The last Studio Ghibli film that came out in the 80s was Kiki's Delivery Service. This came out in 1989. It's rated U, so Universal. There's the front cover. Her name is Kiki. She is a witch. A 13-year-old witch, I think she is. That's her cat, Gigi. There's the back cover. This film is about, well, the 13-year-old witch called Kiki and her cat, and they have to leave home at the age of 13, because at the age of 13, all witches have to leave home for a year to go and work in a foreign town. So she flies, she finds this really cute little town and gets a job in a bakery after a while, and the story sort of goes on from there. It's about her life in this town and how she survives and stuff. It's a really cute film. I would give this 5 out of 5 star as well. I'm probably going to give the majority of these 5 out of 5 star because Studio Ghibli is amazing. The first Studio Ghibli film that came out in the 90s was Only Yesterday. This is one out of their 2 films that is only in Japanese and not in any other language. Or at least I don't think it's in any other language. Perhaps it has subtitles. It's a PG. It came out in 1991. This is actually the same character. You may get confused. That's her when she's an adult, and that's her when she's a little girl. This film was really good. I'd give it 5 out of 5 star. And it's basically about her older self as she looks back on her past life as a child. She decides to go on a trip to the countryside to visit, I think it's friends or relatives. And while she's out there, all her memories of her childhood sort of come back to her, and she's basically thinking about her life and how she got to where she is today. One of the best Studio Ghibli films that came out in the 90s was Porco Rosso. There's the cover, it's a PG. There's the back cover. You can see Porco Rosso and the I'd say second main girl actually. This film came out in 1992, and I would give it, I'd have to say 5 star as well. This is so difficult, because I just want to give them all 5 star, because they're all so good. This film is basically about this guy, Porco Rosso, who is half human, half pig. He was cursed to look like a pig somehow. I can't quite remember, because I haven't seen it since January, I think it was. It's set in the 1920s, in the Adriatic Sea, which is on the east coast of Italy. Porco Rosso is a bounty hunter, and he hunts down pirates who are also flying planes like he is. And it's basically about that, and it's a very sweet film. The next film that I've got to show you is Ocean Waves. It is a PG. There's the back, and it came out in 1993. This was actually a TV film that Studio Ghibli made, so Hayao Miyazaki wanted some of the younger people who worked for Studio Ghibli to make a short film to see what their skills were or something like that. This film I only ever watched once. I wasn't too keen on it the first time, but I'm gonna watch it again because the same thing happened with Only Yesterday, and I quite like that now. I would probably give this... I don't want to give any Studio Ghibli film under 4 stars, so I'll just say 4.-1. Yeah. Also, this is the other film that is only in Japanese. The next one I've got to show you is Pom Poko. This is about raccoons. There's the back. It is PG and probably most famous for, well, let's just say the detail in the raccoon's private parts. This film came out in 1994. It's very good. It's about, well, at the beginning of the film, the raccoons are living in the wilderness and they're happy, but eventually, because of the expansion of, I think it's Kawasaki, which is next to Tokyo, it slowly gets built up and they have to live or survive in the city. I would give this 4.5 stars because I do really like it. It's not one of my favourites, but I like it. The next one is Whisper of the Heart. This is probably my all-time favourite Studio Ghibli film. I absolutely love it. It's a U. It came out in 1995 and there is the back cover. It's very misleading, this cover, because it isn't actually fantasy. It's set in the real world and it's about this girl. This is in her imagination, this front cover, and so is that's her imagination. And basically she wants to become an author. So that's when she's writing, she's imagining what she's writing. It's sort of an everyday life film, I'd say. She wants to become an author, but she can't figure out what else she wants to do in her life to like sustain her and stuff. She also meets this boy who's a violin maker, and he also has to go away at a point, so it is sort of like that. Yeah. This next film is the first Studio Ghibli film that gained more success in the West than the previous films. Like I think it's the first one that made over 100,000. Is it 100,000? Something like that. Dollars. And it's Princess Mononoke. This is a PG, and it came out in 1997. There's the back cover. I'm sure quite a lot of people have heard of Princess Mononoke, especially if they're into like Studio Ghibli or anime in general. It's set in sort of, is it 16th century Japan? Something like that. And it's about, it's not actually about her, it's about this guy. He's called Ashitaka, and he gets possessed by this demon spirit thing, and there's like worm things in his arm, black worm things, and it's really horrible. And basically he has to find a way to stop it so that he doesn't die. He comes across this steelworks, I think it is, and basically they're ruining the landscape and all the animals aren't happy, and this girl is trying to stop it, and he kind of gets caught up in it, and it just goes on from there. It's a very good film. I would also give this 5 out of 5 stars. The last Studio Ghibli film that came out in the 90s is My Neighbours the Yamadas. As you can see, it has a very different art style to the other Studio Ghibli films. I don't know what it is exactly, but the whole film is in this art style. It's not like normal anime art style. It's rated PG. There's the back cover. And it's basically about loads of short stories in this family's life. I would give this 4 stars, I think. Maybe 4.5, but I'm not too sure. It was good. It's it's quite funny. It's quite funny. So, yeah. This came out in 1999, by the way. Now onto the 2000s. The first film of the 2000s, which came out in 2001 and is the most famous Studio Ghibli film, is Spirited Away. PG, and I'm sure everyone who has heard of anime would have heard of Spirited Away, because it's the most famous, not necessarily the best, but it's the most famous. There's the back cover. Her name is Shihiro, and it's basically, she moves home to this town in the middle of nowhere, but they get lost on the way, her and her parents, and they end up going through this tunnel thing which leads them to this fantasy world. The parents don't realise that though, they just think it's the countryside or whatever. They come across this thing which the parents think is a theme park, but it's not really, it's something else. And basically the parents start eating the food at one of the stalls and they get turned into pigs, and this girl is left alone, and all these spirits which are around her start to come out, and she gets scared, and it's basically about her trying to get her parents back to normal and then getting back to the normal world. She has to get a job in a bathhouse to earn her parents back. sort of, from this evil witch lady. I would give this 5 out of 5 stars because it is really good. The next film is The Cat Returns. This is a spin-off Whisper of the Heart. It's got the same cat as on the front cover of Whisper of... Well, there's the back. That cat right there. It's got that same cat in this. It's sort of a spin-off. This is the main girl here, lying down in the grass. There's the back. And it's quite a quirky film. I like it. It's a U, and I would give it 4.9 star. It has a fantastic slow motion scene in it, which is really cool. But this film came out in 2002. The girl's name is Haru, and it's basically about she's living an everyday life. She's a high school student, but she doesn't really like her life for some reason. I can't remember why. And somehow she gets carried away into this magical cat kingdom place, where she has to try and get out of it again. The next film is Howl's Moving Castle, the second most successful Japanese film of all time. This is rated U. I would give it 5 out of 5 star definitely. It's one of my favourites. There's the back cover. This came out in 2004, and it's about this girl. Well, she's an old woman there. She basically gets turned into an old woman, and she has to find a way to become young again. She gets turned into an old woman by this evil witch, by the way. She goes out into the wilderness, and then she finds this castle, which is owned by Howl, who is this guy here. And it goes on from there. Yeah. The next one is Tales from Earthsea. This is rated PG. I quite like this. I'd give it 5 out of 5 stars as well, even though it got a lot of criticism for some reason, which I don't understand why. It's based on a book, which I do plan to read actually. There's the back cover. It came out in 2006, and it's about this boy here. At the beginning of the film, he ends up killing his father and then running away. And basically it's about him fighting this other strange version of himself, which is trying to overtake him in a way. He ends up meeting a wizard, that's him, next to him. And he chatters with him for a while, and then they take shelter at the house which belongs to this girl and her adoptive mother. Third to last film, Ponyo! Rated U. There's Ponyo. There's the back cover. This came out in 2008. It's vaguely based on My Little Mermaid, but it's not My Little Mermaid. It's very different. And it's basically about this fish, which is Ponyo, who wants to become a human. And she does whatever she can to defy her father's orders. The main character is actually this boy, this real-life boy, on the land. There's like a big tsunami thing that's caused, and she makes it onto land, but then her father wants her back, and so on and so forth. The second to last film is Arrietty. This is based on the book The Borrowers. However, it's rated U, 5 out of 5 star. Ponyo I would give 4.9 star. There's the back cover. This is about this girl. She's a tiny person, about that big, and she lives under the house of big people like me. And her father and her dad basically have to... Her and her father and her dad. I mean, her and her mother and her dad have to survive. They go into the house and borrow items, not steal, borrow. But one day she gets seen by a boy, which is very bad, that boy in the middle there. And it sort of goes on from there. The last film that I've got to show you is the most recently released Studio Ghibli film, From Up on Poppy Hill. This might be my second favourite Studio Ghibli film, I'm not too sure. There's the back cover. This is set in the 60s in Yokohama, which is near Tokyo, and it's sort of everyday life. It's about this girl and this boy, and they're trying to restore, or they're trying to keep this old building in their school, which the school wants to knock down. And the children don't want it knocked down, just like the government or something like that. It's rated U, by the way, and I would give it 5 out of 5 stars because it's amazing. This came out in 2011, I think it was. So yeah, that's all of my Studio Ghibli films that I have to show you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm definitely looking forward to future Studio Ghibli films. I know that there are 2 that are going to come out soon. The Wind Rises and Princess Kaya blah blah, something like that, I can't remember. Also in the future, Studio Ghibli have planned for a film called Marnie by the Sea or something like that. I'll have to research it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Slap that like button if you liked the film, if you liked the video. And if you like my other videos, then subscribe maybe. And I'll see you next time. Bye! Studio Ghibli!